And we are back, ladies and
and
gentlemen.
better
Debate
than
amongst
ever.
friends. Oh wow, he bishoffed me. We're back, better than ever,
It's
to
your
talk to
boys.
you about sports.
Favorite TV shows, man, the Sports Center, ESPN News, Partner Interruption. I watch sports, dog. That's what I'm trying to say. I watch sports, man. That's what I'm into. Sports.
What we do here on Debate amongst friends, we talk about sports. A topic that typically isn't covered, Prof. The WNBA seemed like there were a gazillion moves in between LeBron getting someone tossed out of the game last night and last week where we were trying to figure out what's going on with the Nets losing to the Cavs. So there was just a lot going on in between those stretches, but the WNBA, my goodness, what happened? The biggest news, which is crazy. Let me start by saying this before we jump into this particular story.
Mhm.
I was on YouTube, and this particular player just so happened to be a commentator on ESPN, and she was talking about
Was it ESPN
having
or
to.
TNT? Sorry.
It was ESPN,
Wow, that's interesting. She's normally on TNT.
right? Yeah, exactly. She was on ESPN at this point, and she was talking about a player having to leave a team that they've been on for years only to go on and be on a new team.
Wait, you have to say it the right way. How apropos.
I wasn't going to say apropos, but I knew you were thinking it. How apropos of her to be talking about this in the midst of being in the same situation herself. And of course, I'm talking about Candace Parker leaving Los Angeles to not go and give a whole speech or hold a press conference about going home,
Nope.
but going to Chicago, which is huge for Chicago. Candace Parker, one of the best in the league, being signed by the Chicago Sky. Obviously, she's been in LA since 2008. It's so crazy. Like, oh my God, 2008. And now she's moving on. And this is what we talked about right before we jumped on. And, we're going to get to some of the other names, but where's the money, right?
Where is the money? I mean, for me, and I believe it was 12 signings that happened up to this point of this recording.
Right.
Only 7 actually shows a contract. Candace Parker does not show a contract, by the way.
And that's insane because I know that they did the whole collective bargaining agreement to increase the salaries of the ladies. It still isn't even anywhere close to comparison to like the NBA. It's almost really closer to the NBA G Leaguers.
Yes.
Than the actual minimum contracts of some of the people who are on like the end of the bench. I think that some of them are still getting paid.
It depends on how far down the bench you're talking about. There are, I think so far the lowest contract of the actual signings that we see is Kamia Smalls, $58,000.
$58,000. That's G League. That's G League.
And
I think G League gets $75,000.
I don't remember how much the G League get, but I think you might.
No, I believe, yeah. If you sign, I know for sure if you sign out of college or instead of going to college, you go straight to the G League and you get put on a team. I believe that's the thing. You get about $50,000 to $75,000.
That's actually interesting.
Right. So for these ladies who are, pros at this point, I think their minimum salary, I mean, they need to, whoever's working on these collective bargaining agreements, they need to bump it up.
Yeah. I just saw an article that said for NBA players that have no experience in the league for rookies is $898,000.
Now, is that the G League from the high school to G League route, though?
Yes. Yeah, that's with no experience in the NBA.
Because the last thing I saw, it was about 75,000.
They might have increased.
So I'm not sure if 800,000 is a lot.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't mind getting myself back into shape to playing in the G League if that's the case.
Wow. I feel you. But either way, it's still too much for a G Leaguer compared to a professional female basketball player. Like, the salary discrepancy is way too much.
I mean, I know that was something that you've been, wanting to keep track of for the longest. This contract issue and whether or not it's fair to these basketball players in comparison to the NBA.
Well, it stinks because I know that these ladies have to play all year round, as well as they have to play in the United States. Then they have to go to a different country to play. And it's like they're doing this because, number one, some of them really love the game, but then the other part is that's how you make money.
Yep, that's how.
So that's the part that's kind of I'm not really feeling, but that's the hand, unfortunately, that they're being dealt right now, and I just can't believe the collective bargaining agreement doesn't match that of at least the G League.
Yes. In fact, speaking of salaries and cap spaces, I actually just got some information in regards to team cap spaces for the 2021 season. If I could be so inclined to educate the folks out there.
Educate those guys, man. Educate them.
3 teams with the most cap space heading towards the 2021 season. This is, of course, including the actual signings numbers that we have, and you should definitely check it out. It's from our good friends out there at Spot Track. The LA Sparks has the most with $791,000. The Connecticut Sun has the second with $744,000. And rounding up the top 3 is the Las Vegas Aces at $666,000, which that number makes me scared, but that goes without saying.
Well, I know that the Las Vegas Aces, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if she's re-signed yet, but I know they still have to re-sign Elizabeth Cambridge, who is probably one of my favorite players. I mean, she's tall, she can play in the block, she can hit the jumper. I really like her game, but I mean, I'm not sure if they've given her that extension yet, so that could be why the number's so high. And obviously, LA, losing one of their top players, who probably was one of their top paid players, that makes sense that they would be up there.
And you said who was it for the Aces real quickly again, for those that didn't hear?
Liz Cambage. Elizabeth Cambage. Cambage. She's a 6'9" or 6'8". I mean, I watched her dominate some guys who were trying to. It looked like they were doing a drill where she was like having them purposely foul her in the post. I don't know if they were.
She didn't play this last season.
Yeah, she took some time off. I think she went to play in Australia with her national team. I think that's why she didn't play, from my understanding, I believe, because I know that they wound up winning some type of championship or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so right now she doesn't have a contract.
Right, and that's the thing about it. I think the WNBA has some type of tagging, because I know that they've been throwing this word out that I can't remember, but it seems like they were, I'm just going to say, tagging her rights, I guess. But I can't think of the word that they were using. WNBA definitely is using different words than the NBA. I know that for sure. But let's not get too far away from the original list that we were going to go over. Outside of Candace Parker going to the Chicago Sky, we had Alicia Clark going to the Washington Mystics in a bold move to leave the Seattle Storm. But I guess
if there was a Clark on this podcast, he'll definitely say no relation to
that. Woo! But she's moving on. I mean, the Seattle Storm. She's had a good run, especially them winning a championship. She shot 55% from the field and, averaged 10 points per game last season. I'm pretty sure Seattle's going to miss her, but I know that, of course, they have some other really, really good players.
Yeah, they're keeping Sue Storm. Speaking of the Storm, and I don't mean Jack Friend. Sue Bird is returning back, first ballot Hall of Fame for the WNBA. She's been, the model of consistency and being a model toward that community as well too. So, I mean, as much as they will be missing Clark, for that person, no relation. Sue Bird is still there, and they're still formidable. They are still the reigning, defending, undisputed WNBA champions. So.
Right, and they still have some really, really good players. Obviously, Breanna Stewart. I know that I believe that they're going to be fine. I mean, I understand losing someone is tough, but I'm pretty sure with what Sue Bird brings to the table, you have Epiphany Prince. You have a few people there who can really kind of make up for that loss. But they're a pretty solid team, and we're going to see what happens. But moving on here, the quote unquote big story here, which we talked about this, Diana Taurasi returning to the Mercury. Obviously, she's been there since 2004. She's one of those, I don't want to say like old dogs or anything, but she's just one of those players that kind of just been sticking around and really toughing it out.
I mean, toughing it out despite, how long she's been in the league. Another first ballot Hall of Famer in her own rights as well. Leading the Mercury to a title.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for all we know, this could be her last hurrah. I believe she signed a 2-year contract with the Mercury. So this could be, her final bow out. They still have Skylar Diggins-Smith.
That's what I was about to say. The same,
dynamic duo right there. I don't know if they still have Brittany Griner on that team or not. And this just shows how far back it's been since I last watched the WNBA, but I don't know if she's still on the team or not. So, I mean, the Mercury.
It says that she is.
The Mercury still has a squad, despite it all.
Yeah, it says that she is. I mean, how these things are. WNBA seasons go so fast. I mean, Brittany Griner's already 30 years old. I mean, go figure. So it's just one of those things where we have to just kind of watch and see. And because they're playing so much, I feel like 9-10 years into the league is a lot for these women, because it's just not 9 or 10 years in this league. It's 9 or 10 years in this league, and then several years.
So
yes.
Would you give it a comparison as similar to like NFL running backs then, as far as like having to be able to have that longevity? Because they have to do so much and it's so taxing on their bodies.
I feel like NFL running backs, I think the stigma of the 10 years thing is, I don't know. I forget when it happened, but, somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was just like, okay, running backs
Ricky
after
Williams?
10 years. No, because Ricky left after, I think, his 4th or 5th year. Then he came back. It was kind of a weird thing with Ricky. It wasn't Ricky. I can't think of who it was, but I just know that in the early 2000s, you had Thunder and Lightning. I think at one point, Adrian Peterson was like the only single back, that really ran at a point in time, and he didn't have anybody running with him. But then, of course, he got hurt, and then, of course, they brought in somebody else. But honestly, I think the WNBA longevity is kind of similar to in the NBA how one person can't lead a team anymore. It's kind of like you know how now it's like the big two or the big three.
And in some cases, big fours.
Right. I think that's kind of how this is, where it's like the longevity of a WNBA player is similar to one player trying to lead his team, one superstar trying to lead his team. It's just really kind of short-lived, so to speak, nowadays. Gotcha. In my opinion, of course. It's just my honest, humble opinion. But speaking of the Aces, as you spoke before, when I was talking about Liz Cambage, the Aces get Chelsea Gray. You want to know what Chelsea told me? Chelsea told me she's going to Las Vegas and she's going to test those waters.
Folks, it's been a while, but Helen just stormed out the office with great rage.
Because you want to know what Chelsea told me. But she signed a 1-year deal last year, and I mean this year she said, "Forget it. I'm out. I'm going to, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to Las Vegas to get more money, of course, because of the collective bargaining agreement." Mm-hmm. So we're going to see how that goes for her.
Absolutely.
But the one thing that you mentioned that we really didn't like is the fact that a lot of these, this article and a lot of other articles don't show the money. When we see NBA, NFL, or any other sports, you see the money
right away,
front and center. It's like 4 years, $30 million, or 4 years, 5 years, $250 million. You know what I mean? It's always some big number. But I think they do that intentionally for these ladies because they know it's low and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I hope in the future, WNBA players get the respect that they deserve because they're still playing the game the right way. I haven't watched a WNBA game and saw a tremendous amount of flopping or anything like that.
And
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Increased abundance of step back 3-pointers now because that's also a problem, and that's been impacting the youth, unfortunately. But that's a rant for another day.
It really is. Again, when something's new and you believe it to be a quote unquote hot move. I mean, don't get me wrong. We grew up in the world of and1 basketball. So everybody's doing skip to my Lou and hot sauce and all these other moves.
I was doing
putting the ball. Listen, you're putting the ball in your shirt and you're tapping it around and you know what I mean? Like you're doing all these moves. But you're doing sky hooks is just more of a student of the game kind of thing. You're not. I'm talking about.
I know nobody about the things that are like hot and the fads. Yeah, and,
you want to go to the court.
Yeah,
you want to go to the court and you want to do an Iverson crossover. Or if you're like me, you're like, man, this Tim Hardaway crossover is where it's at. You know what I mean? Or you want to be.
People don't even know who Tim Hardaway is.
I know. They only know Tim Hardaway Jr. Listen, they don't even know Tim Hardaway Sr. actually played in the NBA. They only know Tim Hardaway Jr., which is pretty sad.
They don't understand about Run TMC at all. They don't understand.
Oh, my God. So it's like those moves that you saw, like when you saw the Dream do the shake or, you see some of these players do these things and you want to take it to the court. I get it. But as a basketball purist, you're happy to see the WNBA players. You're happy to see the Spurs and now even my Rockets make the extra passes, to get the right shot rather than the quote unquote superstar shot. And it's working and it's showing that it's still working. And I like that. But I hope that they get paid. Honestly, I hope they get paid. But I think that is what the NBA needs. I think they just need to be paid a little bit more. I think they need to be respected a little bit more. And I think people need to go out and really look at those games. And when you're modeling your game after someone, model it after somebody who does it right, somebody who doesn't take shortcuts, but really focuses on the fundamentals. And that's what I liked about Liz Cambridge. So that's all I got for this, man. I mean, we can take a quick break and come back with more debate amongst friends right after this. And we are back. Super Bowl week is upon us. But before we get there, there was a trade.
Big trade.
Which I've kind of been talking about, for about a year now, really. I've been kind of saying that this is something that should have happened. The Detroit Lions needed a reset, so to speak. And they did it, and actually got really, really good capital. Detroit Lions send Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for Jared Goff. A number, was it 1-1 or 2 1s? It's 2 1s.
Yeah.
And a 2, which is huge.
Yes, two 1s, a third, and of course, Garrett Goff. So just 3 picks altogether.
2. So 2 1s and a third, and Goff, who was a number 1 pick, or a first round pick. So I think this is good for the Lions if they can build around Goff, who's shown that he's got grit. Obviously, playing in the playoff game with a broken finger.
I can't use the word grit. You scumbag.
I mean, it's grit. It's determination and grit. I mean, how many grits too? Like he showed grit. But I'm happy for him though that he's, getting an opportunity. Obviously, he had some issues with the head coach in LA. There was some crazy text going out saying that he was feeling his girlfriend and all this other stuff. We're not going to get into that speculation.
Yeah, I'm not
that's for the tabloids there. I just thought it was pretty hilarious that was one of the stories that kind of came out of the Rams, is that, Goff was kind of feeling McVay's girlfriend and all that stuff. But nonetheless, this is a trade that happened. Are you happy, or, I mean, how do you feel about this trade? What did you think when you first saw it?
This reopened the window of opportunity for the Los Angeles Rams. And we talked about Matthew Stafford. We both said while he's really, really good, he's always been, in a flawed offense, a flawed team, a flawed front office mainly. And now he has the chance to do it. Whether he, had injuries problems or he just didn't have the weapons. The main issue, honestly, with him in Detroit was he just didn't have a defense. If we're going to be honest about it, he really didn't have that much of a defense to really help him out. But the Lions had
this year
because, as you mentioned, they wanted to make that reset button. But Matthew Stafford don't want to just lay down and take losses like that. He's always going to compete. So with with Goff coming in with the hand injury, that will allow them to tank, but not really tank, because they don't want to say it. But with Matthew Stafford, I mean, he's going into a offense with some great weapons, with, possibly a top 5 defense in the league, stats wise. Obviously, it didn't turn into wins because they're not in the Super Bowl. They didn't make it to the conference championships, but that's here or there. But it leaves the door wide open for the Rams in the NFC West, which is great. One of the toughest divisions in football, in fact. And it just got significantly much more harder. And now they're getting a gunslinger that enjoys throwing the deep pass and can throw it down accurate for people like Robert Woods, for people like Cooper Kupp. And they still got their running back. Like, they really haven't lost anything yet, because of course we really haven't gotten to, heavy free agency yet, but like the possibilities are endless right now for the Rams. And outside of that speculation crap, I really think this was a pretty good move. I think this is a win on both sides. The Rams can still make some kind of noise in their division, while the Lions can get ready to hit the reset button, and hopefully they'll try to be able to be some sort of competition for pretty stacked still NFC North division. Outside of Mike Zimmerman definitely needs to be fired in Minnesota, but that's here or there.
So that's some great observation. I don't think the Lions have. Well, so the good thing is that the Lions haven't always had a bad defense. They've had some great defenses. It's just the years that they had a great defense, Matthew Stafford was hurt. So that's where it's going to get a little tricky. If he can stay healthy, then by all means, the Rams have a great chance to. I
mean, Rams' offensive line isn't like top
not
5,
the greatest,
but like, they're around middle of the pack, but I think they could definitely improve. I mean, honestly, I think Matthew Stafford has the ability to expect more from his offensive line. And Doc, you kind of mentioned this with your Bucks, actually. Like Tom Brady set the standard of what he would accept, especially after that the Bears game. I know you said after the Giants game, but like it really started after that Bears game, where the expectation went from, kind of just loafing around to no. We need y'all to be elite. Like you see Tom Brady, you see his jersey, it needs to be clean.
So, number one, Matthew Stafford is no Tom Brady. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure Matthew Stafford puts in work, but I don't know if anybody puts in the work that Mr. Thomas Edward Brady
I think he does, but I don't think people cover it. It's kind of
no. Forget that. We're talking about TB12. We're talking about TB12. We're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who said he's going to play beyond 45, the guy who's taking the Bucks to the Super Bowl. Which
Chris, we're going to need to get this part clipped so I can show this in 2 years after Tom Brady leaves. I just need to make sure that we get this clipped.
We don't need that because in 2 years, hopefully, we get Aaron Rodgers, and the Buck doesn't stop. But who knows what's going to happen with Tom Brady? But we're going to get there. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. We're going to get there. But Matthew Stafford, there's no question he's got great talent. He's always had great talent. It's just, can he stay healthy? I don't want to be the Mel Kiper of the show and tell you he's got this big arm talent and he can make all the throws. And he just got some injury concerns. He's just got some injury concerns, but he can make all the throws and he can go and lead the Rams to the playoffs if he can stay on the field. How will that offensive line hold up? That's what we have to know. How will they hold up? To channel my inner Mel Kiper Jr., how will that offensive line hold up? How will he work under McVay's offense? We don't know. Those are the questions that we have, and that's what we have to look forward to.
We
channel
had
that
a Mel
Doc
Kiper Jr. impression months before the draft. Okay, folks, like we're going to quickly, 30 seconds, real quickly. Okay, you have to appreciate the work that Doc put in with this, okay? The rarity of us talking about Mel Kiper Jr.
Yeah, never happens. Never happens.
Beginning of February 20.
Oh my God. Right before freaking the end of the season, we are talking about Mel Kiper Jr. But that's something that he would say about this trade of Matthew Stafford. I'm happy for him. Hopefully they succeed. Obviously,
I think they will. I think they will.
They're saying that this trade is going to set the table for Deshaun Watson. But I don't think so. I think the Texans are going to win.
Episode, he's going to sit out the year. It's going to be him and JJ sitting out the whole year.
Honestly, I could see JJ going to a lot of different teams. I'm going to throw my Bucks in there, the 49ers, the Patriots,
I wouldn't
the
blame you putting
Browns.
your Bucks. Any team would love to have them.
Well, honestly, like I've been saying, actually, let's move on to the Super Bowl with the Bucks and the Chiefs. I was about to say no Chargers, no, the Chiefs. Um, obviously the Bucks are the underdog, even though they're at quote unquote at home and they're the away team. We're home, and a lot of people are telling me. Somebody called me earlier and said, that we have to win, and I'm like, listen, I mean, until that clock reads 0-0-0-0 and Tyreek Hill is off the field, holding his head down in shame, I'm not saying anything. I feel like they're a really, really good team. We're a really, really okay team. I just believe that we just got to wait and see what happens. Buccaneers.
Well, like we do every single week before the Super Bowl, we have to talk about who has the advantage.
We do. It's tough. So let's start with quarterback then. Let's jump right into it.
Start off with the coaching, actually.
I'm going to give the edge to Andy Reid. I think his ability to be creative. He's a mad scientist. I don't know what happened to him in Philly, but he's a mad scientist.
Philly happened to Philly.
Yeah, it's like
you want me to tell you the funniest thing, and I'll let you finish with your answer. So, urinating tree.
Urinating tree.
A video. Shout out to Urinating Tree. Make sure you check out his stuff too on YouTube, by the way. Put up a video talking about just all the negatives about Andy Reid, which was 3 years ago. And when I saw that in my recommended list, I'm like, man, this did not age well.
Right. It's crazy because Andy gets a lot of hate, but some of the stuff that they do, and that's probably another reason why Eric Bieniemy, I wish his name was just Bellamy. It would be so much easier, but Bieniemy, Bieniemy, there's no extra something in there. Whatever, Bellamy. Eric Bellamy doesn't get the jobs is because there's rumors that he doesn't call all the plays, that him and Andy kind of split. But I feel like that's just head coach and offensive coordinator. That's just how it works.
I think it's more than that. But
yeah, it is. But that's what they're telling us.
About that. This isn't the
but I'm happy that he didn't get some of the jobs that he did this year. I don't want. I don't want
Black History Month. That's all I'm gonna say.
Honestly, I feel like he'll probably stay around long enough to get the Chiefs job from Andy, which would be perfect. Because I don't know how long Andy could do this, but Andy, I don't know what happened and where he decided to change his mind on running like a standard offense. But whenever he decided, like, hey, I want to run a new offense, I'm going to do it in Kansas City with Alex Smith, right? And then go out and draft Patrick Mahomes and have an offense that fits so well with these players. But he did it, and I'm happy for him. But I would give Andy I would give Andy the nod only because this is even though Bruce is an offensive juggernaut, his down the field antics sometimes kind of gets us kind of caught out there. Byron Leftwich's first year fully calling plays. Obviously, we got Todd Bowles, who's depending on how aggressive he wants to be or doesn't want to be, we'll see what happens. But I'll give the Chiefs the advantage. And, of course, the Spagnuolo curse. Oh, my God. Spagnuolo's 2-0 against Tom Brady in the playoffs. So that's one of those things that people are saying. But we'll see.
I'll just give a short answer. I'm also going to go with the Chiefs. I feel like the risk it, no biscuit methodology has definitely burned the Bucs during the season. It has better benefited now during the playoffs. And of course, we're going to find out what's going to happen this Sunday.
Right.
But I mean, looking at everything from just this season, I'm not looking at the past. I will still have to give it to Andy Reid and the Chiefs.
We're going to see what happens.
Let's talk quarterbacks. Who got the advantage?
I say it's even. Forget it.
I can't believe he went with a PC answer too, folks.
I did, because as much as I like Patrick Mahomes and the fact that he can throw and he can run, I mean, he's not reading like Tom can read. I mean, he can read, but I believe that Tom's reading ability is really, really, I mean, it's elite at this point. Obviously, yeah, he still makes some poor throws, but so does Patrick. The only thing Patrick has over Tom, of course, is his elusiveness.
Yep.
But I think with Tom's ability to read, I think that's where it kind of puts them in a stalemate. I'm not giving it to him. I'm going to go with even. They're two all-star caliber quarterbacks.
MVP caliber quarterbacks.
Yes, and I'm not going to put one over the other. I'm just not going to do it. Can't do it. Can't play with them. Can't coach with them. Just can't do it.
I will give the slight edge to Tom Brady. And here's why.
What?
Here's why. And I know a lot of people not going to like this. Is the unpopular opinion. I get it. But
sure.
Here's why. If the game has to be decided by a field goal, I feel more confident in Tom Brady getting the Bucs to a position to kick a field goal to win the Super Bowl, because that has happened time and time again.
Yeah, it has. It has.
So I'm going to give him the advantage for that. I feel like Patrick Mahomes, while elite and is the top QB in the league today,
sure,
I feel like they will try to win it all.
Yeah.
And to have Doc and Prof text each other with the Huevos gift.
No, definitely.
But I'm going to give the slight edge to Tom Brady. Like, if I had to do, out of 10, like Tom Brady 10, Patrick Mahomes like 9.98. Like, that's how
I got you. All right, let's move on to the running backs, which
the Bucs.
I don't know, because it depends. It depends. It depends on if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is playing, because we haven't gotten to the defense yet, the run defense or anything like that.
Well,
obviously,
here's why I say the Bucs. The Bucs have 3 running backs that can just take over the game. I can't really say the same thing about the Chiefs. I can't. I want to, and I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and yes, they got Shady.
Yeah. They got Le'Veon Bell.
Yes. But, I mean, I said it 3 weeks ago. I said, hey, the Bucs just start running Leonard Fournette more. It'll change the tide of everything. And they started running Leonard Fournette more, and it changed the tide of everything. It's hard for me to double back on what I said. I'm sticking with the Bucs with that.
He's doubling down, folks.
With my pick.
Double down. All right, then wide receivers.
This is one of the hard ones.
Yeah.
Because the answer is it depends. And my gut wants to say the Chiefs because of
Cheetah.
Of course.
But everybody else.
But it's everyone else. Like, if you just go with just one, I mean, of course, they got Cheetah, they got Kelsey, they got Harmon, who really doesn't get a whole lot. They got Sammy Watkins, who can still, do a lot too, but it's the lack of consistency is the problem with the receivers.
Right.
Whereas with the Bucs,
there is inconsistency there also, but there's a lot of pick your poison.
Problems.
Yeah, it's honestly, really inconsistent.
I would give this one a wash because it all depends on who decides they want to have hot hands and who the QB decides to throw the ball to that day.
Because you think about it, I mean, last week, you kind of seen a lot of forced passes to Mike Evans,
Yep.
Which it worked out. And again, where the Bucs struggle sometimes is on those third and shorts, and they want to throw the deep ball rather than going short.
Weird. I mean, and that goes back to my art. That's more of coaching than really the receivers, honestly. But for me, it's like
strange.
Tom Brady definitely spread it around a lot more than Patrick Mahomes.
True. No, that's very true.
But
so we're gonna see.
But I just want to see if the Bucs wide receivers can create more separation.
I think the catches are gonna be there. Again, you have the benefit of having Scotty Miller, who just so happens to be a fast, shifty receiver.
I'm going to stop you right there. Let's go into
tight ends. It's going to be the Bucs for me, only because they have 2 or 3 different tight ends. Well, 2 now, but I think Kelsey is great. But when you're talking about Gronk and Cameron Brate, I would give it to the Bucs. Only because it's 2-on-1. Only because it's 2-on-1.
100% agree with you. And I'll add in, Gronk has really been a blocking tight end during the season.
He really has been.
and the fact that they really didn't I think he only had one game where he received over 100 yards. That's dangerous.
This could
so
be the
I'm
one.
Giving it like that one is like 4 to 10 Bucs for me.
Yeah. Offensive line. So I think the Chiefs have a lot of injuries on the offensive line. That's the only reason I'm gonna give it to the Bucs. I think 2 people on the offensive line only had like 1 start. So I'm gonna give it to the Bucs. They've been playing really well, even without Kappa. Aaron Stinney has been playing some really, really good, positional football at right guard. And then you mentioned Gronk. I just believe that they're gonna be good.
Absolutely. That one I'm gonna give a 7-10 advantage to the Bucs.
Yeah. Okay. Defensive line. Yikes. So that boy for the Chiefs, man, Jones, is a real problem.
Oh, you're not gonna.
So. Oh God, it just depends. Obviously, run defensive wise, I'm gonna go with the Bucs all day long. But the pass rush sometimes doesn't get there. Chris Jones and Frank Clark are really, really good. Even Derek Nandi is good. I don't know that other guy. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. We're just going to call him TK. Hopefully he doesn't TKO us. I'll give Vita Vea is back. Vita Vea is back.
Yes.
This is really close, bro. Like JPP is there, Shaq Barrett's there.
Yep.
But I will give. It's a short window. I like Chris Jones a lot. I'm gonna give it to the Chiefs.
This one's
I like
10-10 even split for the defensive line.
Oh my God, that's so close, man. That's close.
How close it is. I have to give it a 10-10.
It's really close. I like Chris Jones though. Chris Jones is gonna give Stinney, if he's on that right side, which I assume they're gonna put him, he's gonna give Aaron Stinney a lot of work. There's gonna be a lot of double teams over there, and that's where it's gonna leave one-on-one Derek Nandi probably versus our left guard, which is gonna be really, really tough. But I think if anybody can do it, it's that left side. It's really gonna be up to Donovan. Can Donovan play against Frank Clark?
Yep.
I believe in Tristan Wirfs, so we'll see. So I guess we got to move on to linebackers.
Linebackers, who you got?
I'm gonna go Bucs. I'm sorry. I think them boys. Oh God! Let me tell you, Devin White be flying all over the place. And Levante, I think Coach Arian said his hamstring was a little hurt, but then he said you would have to shoot him to keep him off the field. So
I'm gonna give it a 8-10 to the Bucks.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. It would be 5-10 for the Bucks, but as you mentioned before, on pass coverage, your linebackers have been a big issue.
Liability, except for the game against Drew Brees. That's the only one where it was like, oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. All right,
but
let's go secondary.
Outside of that, oh, you already know I'm giving this to the Chiefs. I don't care who they put out there. They're so much better than us. Even though they might be just as bad. But our secondary they play so bad. The only thing I can say this time that we didn't have last time, even though personally I feel like he's a guy that's really, really wishy-washy, and that's Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean didn't play that first matchup against the Chiefs, and he's actually the fastest corner that we have on the field. So he'll probably be matched against Cheetah all game because he's faster than obviously the other two.
Yep.
But I'm gonna give it to the Chiefs because we are just so terrible.
I'm gonna give this one a 5-10 to the Chiefs.
Yeah. You can give it
because I feel like the experience from the Chiefs secondary speaks more volume than the Bucks secondary. I think they're exciting, and I think when they play really, really well, you can't pass against because it's a no-fly zone. But I mean, as we keep mentioning during this season, they have issues when they allow to just give up deep balls a lot. And this is a team that will absolutely shred you if you give up the deep ball. So I have to give it a 5-10 to the Chiefs.
Right.
Special team.
We'll see if Sean Murphy-Bunting can keep up, can he keep up his interception streak? We'll see, but we'll see. Special teams. Harrison Buckner versus Ryan Suckup, who's been probably one of the best kickers in the last 5 to 6 years for the Bucks. But I'm going to give it to the Chiefs because they have better returner.
Just kicking, but punting and returning.
No. Yeah, that's why I'm going returner. I think McCole Hardman is a really dangerous return man. And even though we usually kick it out of the end zone, those punt returns are really dangerous, as we saw in New Orleans. So
yeah, that we'll have to wait. Was just an issue. Hopefully they fix that during the week.
Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, it seems like, unless you have somebody else,
I got 7-10 Chiefs for that one.
Oh yeah, I just got the Chiefs. I know the Bucks think it's all good.
All right, here it is. This is the moment you all been
waiting for. Who you got? Oh my God, who you got?
Doc.
No. We're not doing that. Who you got? No. Who you got? You tell me right now.
I'm giving my answer right now. Actually,
give it to me. Give it to me right now. Give me the answer right now. I want the answer. You tell me who you got. Let's see who you got.
You want answers?
I want to know it.
Come on, brothers. Let's see what you got.
You think you're entitled to it?
You want to see something? Yeah. Let me show you something. I want to see it.
Actually, I am.
Dang it. The winner, John Gotti's pick for Super Bowl 55, the winner, walking out with the Lombardi Trophy.
So nervous.
Is a team in red.
Right there is the greatest thing I've ever seen. You can't be me. You can't do me. And I'm cutting you off right now.
Oh, you went with my answer. Oh my God, that's so cheap.
Wow, that's my line. That's my line. That's my line. That's my line.
And that so team is.
That's the nosebleeds. Oh, we want the righty.
I was trolling with the first part. I'm actually thinking answer now, so.
No. I believe you.
I am going with and winning his 7th Super Bowl ring.
Andy Reid.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, you don't cut me off. Woo! Hey, don't you start that with me. Woo! Woo!
Dang, I hope you're right. Well, that's all we have for today's show.
Here. Wow, no. You are giving your answer. No. You do not do the transfers. That's my bit.
Stand by for the 2-minute drill.
No. Doc, who you got, man? Come on, we need an answer.
Yikes. Oh, my God. I'm pretty sure the team with the MVP quarterback is going to win.
This guy right here.
Oh, man.
It's always something with this guy, folks. Scumbag.
Yo, the freaking head coach with the hat on is going to win. The one with the headset.
Yeah.
That's the one. Oh, man. Who shall win?
We need an answer, Doc.
I think everything that we've talked about, gives me the confidence in the world to say that history has repeated itself and a great defense will figure out a way to stop a great offense. So, therefore, and new Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady gets the dub. Mike Evans gets the dub. Levante gets the dub. They figure out a way. They look back at how the Raiders beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. They're sleeping on us. We figure out a way to get to Patrick Mahomes, which is very rare, and we win the game. Leonard Fournette runs wild on the Chiefs, over 150 yards, and we win by 14.
Wow, he even put a point spread, folks.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. If history repeats itself and the league is as fixed as everybody say it is, because people out there saying it's fixed, then I expect Tom Brady to win. Of course, we're not going to win by more than 14 because why on earth would we do that? We want to make the game compelling and interesting. So we'll probably be tied at half and then score a touchdown. Maybe Mahomes will throw a pick six that makes no sense, and then everybody will say that it's fixed. Oh, I hate Tom Brady because he's going to win 7 rings and my team only has 5. You know how it goes.
Bucks are going to win Cowboys? By 6 points.
6 points? Again.
And it's going to
I can see it being 9.
Patrick Mahomes picked to end the game.
Again, I could see it being like 9 to 14 points. It would be great if we could play the perfect game.
Now, I will say this. If suddenly this week, all these experts and analysts start saying the Bucks, it's just like
nobody's saying the Bucks
before.
The Buck stops now. I get it.
It's something really, really bad's about to happen to the Bucks.
No, I think the whole nation, with the exception of like 3 states, are choosing the Chiefs.
I'm actually curious about which 3 states now.
I think it was like Midwest somewhere, and then there was some states in the Northeast. Of course, obviously Florida. There was a state in the Midwest, I believe it was, and then there was like some sprinkles in the Northeast. It might have been like 5 states. But most of the whole country is is going for the Chiefs because they love Patty Mahomes and they hate Brady. Let's just be honest. People hate Brady. I mean,
and
that's just what it is.
Honestly, that's really what I'm going based off to. Like, it's
Yeah.
hard to bet against him. And he has broken the mold of him being and we're talking about Patrick with Tom Brady, of him being a system quarterback with the Patriots offense. That has been the issue with him as far as what people keep saying about him, and he's broken that mold this year.
So, which is apropos that you would mention that because
I totally forgot about this part, folks.
Yeah, you kind of set me right up for it, so it's perfect. Exactly what Danny Amendola said, where today he was asked, and he took a few shots at Bill Belichick, saying that Tom Brady is and always has been the Patriot way, which to an extent that makes sense because why else would you explain why the other coaches that leave the Patriots don't do well? Obviously because Tom Brady isn't there, it's a number of things, you know what I mean?
I feel like that may not be a valid point. I can understand it, but I don't think that's a valid one. I feel like they feel because they try
in reality, think about it like this. Matt Patricia had the aforementioned Matthew Stafford for some point of his tenure, not the whole thing, which is pretty sad. I felt like if Matt Stafford was there a little longer, Matt Patricia might have just a few more wins, so on and so forth. But I mean, maybe Brady is the Patriot way. I mean, even though they were successful the 2 or 3 years that Brady was out on injury, they had Brissett, they had Garoppolo, they had Matt Castle. So they had a few quarterbacks that come in and be successful. But when those quarterbacks left, I mean, Tom obviously went back to his normal form. And a lot of people wrote Tom off after his early exit from the playoffs yesterday. Obviously, the pick six sorry, not yesterday. I mean, you know what I mean by yesterday. Last season. You know what I mean. Last season. Yesterday is last season. Today he's in the Super Bowl, but yesterday he threw a pick for the Patriots. Come on. Stay with me.
I'm with you.
Last season, he ended it yesterday with a pick six, and people thought he was done. But here he is today or tomorrow in the Super Bowl, and we're in business. So is he the Patriot way? Like, I mean, was Tom? He's a major ingredient,
I will agree with the major ingredient part. I wouldn't say he was the end all be all of being the Patriots.
Yeah, because Danny Amendola was an ingredient. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Julian Edelman was an ingredient. But Tom has been there for so long.
Yep. Well, he's been the constant, yes, but I wouldn't say it, the buck stopped here with
wow.
him.
I can't believe you said that.
I can't believe you dragged out your prediction for 3 minutes.
The buck stops here again. Oh, God. I can't believe you just said that out loud.
I am going to say that out loud. I feel like the answer,
but I agree with you
to his claim is it depends. Because Matt Patricia came into Detroit being very abrasive, and it was doomed to start. He didn't really give the players a chance to really adapt to a warm-up to it. He kind of just came in there and saying, well, this is what we're going to do. And if you don't like it, you get out.
And that's kind of what a lot of people talk about with Belichick. Obviously, we've seen some new coaches be very successful. Obviously, Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Obviously in the NBA, we've seen obviously Coach Silas do some of the same things. Shout out to Coach Silas. Yeah, I want to throw that in there.
Yep.
But the key thing is players respect the fact that the coach doesn't just come in and say, hey, we're doing things my way or the highway. It's like you come in, and even some Buck players have said it. Coach Arians allows us to be us within his system. So Tom comes in, from a system where he's been under this Belichick era, and Bill's like, listen, we got to do things my way. We're not going to do it any other way. We're going to do it my way.
Is that
and that's
really
it?
Belichick impression?
it's pretty close. But that's young Bill. I don't know how old Bill sounds, but young Bill. But he said, we're going to do things my way. We're not going to deviate from the plan. I've watched enough film to know exactly what's happening, and this is what we're going to do. Whereas, in Tampa and some of these other places, it's like, he even said it himself. We run the plays that Tom Brady wants. That's what he said. We said we just got to do a better job of calling the plays that he picked.
I think that's more for the media to have stuff to write about. But
no, listen, Tom probably goes in. I'm pretty sure Tom is watching film right now in the pool underwater, with a machine on. He's probably scuba diving in his own pool with a tablet underwater where he can't hear anything, and he's just watching film. He's just like, he's blocking everything out. He's in his own chamber, and it's just like he's so locked in. Who knows what he's doing? But Tom is watching film right now. His wife is out the house for 12 days. He's been doing nothing but nonstop studying. I mean, he's laser focused in, and I don't care what they call this week. He's got to be successful. TB12
we have
for the
digressed way.
I'm sorry.
But I can't wait for Sunday's
because you picked
game.
the Bucks.
I can't wait for Sunday's game. Apparently, I have hyped up Doc so much that the thing that we wanted to do last week happened this week.
I'm not cocky though. I'm not cocky.
I was waiting on that line right there.
Yeah, I'm not cocky.
I was waiting
on
that line right there.
anything could happen. It's Mahomes. It's Andy Reid. Hopefully Andy out-tricks himself, and Mahomes just doesn't execute.
Between that line and Gotti 1-1, Doc is making sure he doesn't hex his team whatsoever.
I'm hoping that Mahomes gets like a frog in his throat or something, and he can't. Because he already has a frog in his throat. That's what they say.
Chris, make sure you flip this part too, please.
But no, it's gonna be a good game. Shout out to the Bucks, shout out to the Chiefs, everybody that's involved in the Super Bowl, and we're gonna see what commercials they give us too, I guess.
I'm not too concerned about the commercials, nor am I concerned about the halftime show either. I just want to see this game because I think it's going to be
cool. Do you remember who it is?
The Weeknd.
The Weeknd again? Yay, The Weeknd.
Wow. And on that note, folks, before we get ourselves in hella trouble, we'll be right back with the 2-minute drill right after this.
At the end of every show, we like to do something that's called the 2-minute drill, where we go over stories and headlines that we didn't get a chance to cover during the show. Today is the day EA Sports, after 7 years of hiatus and those like myself still playing NCAA football 14, EA finally announces that they're going to bring college football back. Doesn't say when, but they said they're working with the partners that they have, of course, with the NCAA, to create a football game. Prof?
George Kenneth Griffey Jr., or better known as Ken Griffey Jr., MLB Hall of Famer, has been named as senior advisor to the MLB commissioner. Hopefully it is to help improve baseball operation, youth development, and improve diversity at all levels of the game. Back to you, Doc.
And that's all we have for today's show. Be sure to tune in next week where we'll be going over, hopefully, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl and the Rockets winning 10 games straight. We shall see. But be sure to tune in next week for more news, more analysis, and the reads.